one of the things that I thought would be rude not to pick up is one of these 3000 class rail operating division heavy freight locomotives. Hello there, welcome back. I hope you had yourself a very good Christmas and New Year. Here we are in 2019, so we've got a few goodies. So without further ado, let's take a look, shall we? Well, what we've got here is something that I picked up through the Hatton sale, and there's some really good stuff there. It's like they knew I had a bit of money in my pocket and went, oh, come on, you know you want to, come get your candy. And they probably used that voice as well. But one of the things that I thought would be rude not to pick up is one of these 3000 class rail operating division heavy freight locomotives. Now, Hatton's has had them on varying degrees of sale for quite a long time now, but they've been dropped to a price where I think they're less than half the RRP. When they originally reached the market, I think they were about £119, something like that. But I picked this up for £54, and at the time of recording this, they still had some left. So if you're really interested in one of these after you've watched this video, then hightail yourself over to the Hatton site and see if they've got any left. They did have a similar one in a non-weathered livery, so if you can't get the weathered one, there is something similar for you. So I'm going to slide this out and give you a little bit of the history of the class. Now, the 3000 class, you might recognise this as being pretty similar to the Robinson 8K. And that's because during the First World War, the Rail Operating Division standardised on that as their standard heavy freight locomotive and ordered up quite a lot of these to mass produce them, send them abroad. But then at the end of the First World War, the ROD had an awful lot of these still lying around, and they offered them up for sale. Initially, the Great Western Railway hired a number of these, but after the war, around 1919, they bought a whole load of them, and they were obviously quite happy with them because they bought a further 80, and I think it was 1925. But by then, these locomotives had been in storage and were a bit worse for wear, so they were withdrawn very quickly. The Great Western Railway decided to rebuild, there was 30 of them, and they gave them copper fireboxes. The other 50 were kind of patched up enough to keep running, and they were basically run into the ground, and when they became due for heavy overhaul or were withdrawn because of problems, they were just scrapped. Now, the Great Western Railway wasn't the only company to buy these from the War Department. Certainly the London and North Western Railway was another pre-grouping company which bought a load of them, and I believe it may be the case that the LMS, the LNER, may have bought some post-grouping, but certainly the Great Western Railway had quite a lot of these. Some of these lasted through into British Rail service, as you see from the livery on this one. They did get a few minor modifications in BR service, but none of them survive into preservation. Now, the Bachmann model has been out for a little while, and in fact, as I've tipped it on its side, I'm just going to remove this actually, if I can. It's a coal load that is insertable in there, and actually it's made of metal. It's I think it's in like a white metal casting there. So we've got the representation of the coal painted black, but it does also give some degree of weight. But if you don't want your tender to be modelled absolutely full, the entire tender interior there is modelled for you to add a little bit of coal, so you can model a locomotive that's been out for a long day's work and is ready to be either recoaled to go back out or coming to the end of its day, coming back into the shed. This particular type of locomotive is very similar to the ones which I think we may have done some box opening and reviews, but certainly they've featured in Trains Going By videos. And I've got a wonderful video going way back actually in a lovely summer on the Garden Railway of my Great Central Railway liveried Robinson 8K in the company of the weathered ex-LNER, I think it was, locomotive that Hatton's did as a special commission. Now, Hatton's do still have some some of those for sale, but they're nowhere near as inexpensive as these. The running characteristics are all the same at the moment. The shed's full of rubbish, it's really cold, so I'm going to show you a little bit of the archive footage of the other two running to give you a gist of just how majestic these things roll on by. I've been really pleased with the initial two which I have, so when this came up as an opportunity to get this for a knockdown price, I didn't hesitate, and it's a minor variation. It's really good actually to see that Bachmann have catered for other variants of this pretty numerous class and their derivatives, and they've also got announced that there's a London and North Western Railway liveried version in the offing that's due out this year, and also I think there may also be a rail operating division liveried 280 heavy freight locomotive in the offing, so there's certainly a great deal of choice. In terms of this locomotive, there's not a huge difference from the Robinson 8K variant. The most notable one really for me is the very characteristic Swindenized safety valve cover there, and for me that's probably the most noticeable difference. But that said, there's a few other bits and pieces going on, but you'd have to really put them side by side unless you knew this class really, really well. Because I've featured this rough type of locomotive before, I'm not going to really dwell on it, but only to say that what you see here is what you get, and it's a really good factory applied weathering job from Bachmann. And you know, I've seen quite a few from various manufacturers that look like they've just blown over with a dirty coloured paint, and they look atrocious. This doesn't suffer from that. So we've got an almost rusty, grimy, coaly, horrible mucky colour, but that is exactly what we want with a locomotive like this. And they've got all of the motion, all of the wheels, the running gear is all also weathered, and it looks to me like they've had this running when they've weathered it. So when I spin some of the wheels around, I'm just spinning that, you don't get this sort of weird demarcation where you can actually see the clean bit that was hidden away at the top when it was weathered. They've clearly had this on some kind of a rolling road for the weathering process, and that really does make the weathering stand out pretty well. In terms of other Swindenized features, we've also got the characteristic Great Western Railway style number plates there. They are printed on, and if I go back to the box, we do get this extra bits and pieces, but there's not really a lot in here. That's some kind of a thing for taking the speaker in the tender if you want to sound fit these. It's 21 pin fitted. I haven't actually got round to trying to sound fit one of these yet, but what I can see from this is that we're going to have quite a reasonable sized tender void in there. So as long as that's not full of a weight of some sort getting in the way, it should be a fairly straightforward task to fit in some kind of sound chip in there. Now you could go for a really expensive lock sound, or if you're a cheapskate like me, I'm kind of tempted to put in there some kind of Hornby TTS chip. Now I haven't decided which one I go for. It would either be the 9F chip or possibly something like the Castle, because of the whistle, and that's probably the most important thing for most people, is that the whistle sounds right. Now, the rest of this locomotive, the detail is understated, but it's accurate to the prototype, and I really like the design of these with the long splasher over 3 wheels and then this smaller splasher at the front. They've got a real kind of Edwardian feel to them, and I really like that in a locomotive, but they were very successful for what they did, lasting through both world wars and into the BR period. And indeed some of these locomotives found their way around the world, and 2 of the 3 surviving locomotives are actually in Australia, where they survived in commercial operation, sold on by the War Department, and they were actually running right through into the 1970s, so it just showed how reliable the prototype class was. Pretty much everything you see here, it's all factory applied, so your brake rigging is factory applied. The only things, to go back to that little detailing box, that I can see that they supply you to fit yourselves are these dummy 3-link couplings, and we also get some fire irons there which you could glue in place on the tender top there. So there's not really anything much to fit for the end user to fit. The couplings themselves are in these NEM pockets, and if you want to fit those dummy 3-link couplings, you're going to have to remove these. So really, fitting both of them is purely for show in a display cabinet. The buffers, well, they're not sprung at all, but again, you know my stance on this. Sprung buffers really are, in some degrees, a bit of a gimmick, so I'm not unduly bothered by that. The tender drawbar there is, again, it's something I've brought up a lot. Hornby have sort of addressed this with some of their later locomotives by screwing it permanently between locomotive and tender. But on the Bachmann models, you can just about unclip them. This one isn't as bad as I've seen, actually, it has to be said, but you're going to have to be very careful not to put undue strain on some of these wires. And the plug between the tender and locomotive appears to be there. And it looks to be a much easier type plug to unplug yourself, which is really good, because I know I've commented on some of the other videos with things like the Hornby Schools class, that the plugs that they've been using before, you really need a special tool, and it really is a pain in the neck to get them unplugged. So that is a welcome development. In terms of pickups, we appear to have pickups. I'm just looking here actually on the tender itself, and I think there may be some kind of pickup in there playing on the running surface of the wheels, but it's very difficult to see actually. But certainly we've got pickup from all 8 of the driven wheels on the locomotive itself. Now, I felt something ping when I was handling it, and one of the things that I will bring to your attention, if I can just rest that there, this very fine wire here on the back of the cab is what's pinged. I think it's very likely glued at the top, oops, and wedged in place, but that's, again, something you're going to have to watch out for. I think that's in position, but that's very fragile. So with a bit of handling, you're just going to have to watch out for that. But this does also give me the opportunity to show off the backhead detail in the cab. And this really is where the Robinson 8K and derivatives really shine from Bachmann. The inside of the cab is picked out in white. Some of the weathering has found its way in there, pretty prototypically actually. But in terms of the copper piping, the brass fittings, they're all individually picked out there. There's no sign of smudging. There's no sign of anything really being out of place, and that for me is probably the highlight of this model. Really is great in there, even down to having needles on the gauges perfectly picked out in black. Now I don't think the gauges have any legible writing on them. They may do. We have seen that with some of the tampo printing before, but certainly they really do look the part. And the glazing in the cab is really nicely done at the front there, so we don't get any of this sort of awful glazing bar that we've seen in some of the other locomotives from manufacturers that we've reviewed recently. Let's have a look at some of the other detail here very quickly. We've got scale thickness handrails on the boiler. They are actually, I mean, they're very thin. They kind of flex and spring when I'm lightly squeezing them, but they are pretty ruggedly put together. The holdings there that they go into seem to be pretty well glued in, so pretty pleased about that. Looking down the funnel, we can see a blanking at the bottom. It's a bit shiny in there, bare shiny plastic. That might detract a little bit, and it may be something that if you paint in there with a matte black paint, that would improve, but it's really just a minor niggle. We've got, appears to be turned metal whistles on here, some other separately applied detail. Running back to the tender, we've also got separately applied lamp standards and rails on the back. And again, I can see that this is going to be a nuisance, that little wire in there. It could be fitted in better, I guess. But again, something you're going to have to watch. It keeps catching on this handbrake standard, which is a separately applied fitting. It's really nicely done. And then we've got the fall plate between the locomotive and tender. It does appear to be hinged. I'm just being very careful pushing that down. Yeah, it comes in the upright position in the box, but you can push that down to the lowered position. So that is, again, another nice touch. Overall, this is a fine addition to the Bachmann stable. In my opinion, it's a good solid 9 out of 10. There are a couple of niggles, which I've pointed out. The down inside the funnel is a little bit obvious to my eyes, and this wire fitting around here seems very prone to popping out. But other than that, it's really nice to see that Bachmann have gone that extra mile to provide these different detail derivatives from the Robinson 8K prototype, and I'm looking forward for the London and North Western Railway variant that's been announced by Bachmann in their catalogue. Well, I hope that's been really informative to you. Don't forget to like this video and also share it too, and let other people know about the stuff we're putting out here on this channel. But it's been really great to have you along, and until next time, you take really good care of yourself. I hope to see you here again. Until then, bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks go out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony, Michael Churchwood, Mark McShane, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, and Anthony Hunt. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knob T. Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.